Okay, we're going to continue our Claude videos, and one thing I did was I found a little interesting was to create a Claude skill called Create Cognito Userpool in Amazon, and I want to see how good Claude would do at this task. And what I found out is this skill seems to be reusable and and um, and I think it is useful. So it worked. It created a Cognito Userpool, and and I think I'm pretty pleased with the result of this. So let me review this with you. Okay, so basically, I have an environment file here, which I told Claude that I wanted to create this Cognito Userpool, home task Userpool, and the skill, I told it to create the Cognito Userpool in the particular region, with the profile, and once it's created, to get the client ID and the secret and the token URL and set these in the environment. So that's what I have here. And so this appeared to work, and other, it created, Claude created the user pool, it created the directories, it created the source code and everything, and even this fetch token. I didn't even ask it to create this, but it fetched a token. So in light of that fact, I feel like Claude really worked really well by creating a skill for me to create a Cognito Userpool. Now, prior to this, I used Agent Core code to create Cognito Userpool, because I was going to use it to secure a gateway. And as you see, I got my create gateway here. So what I'm doing is I'm creating some skills to do the same things I did with a Python code and a notebook. Now, it's not that Claude's not capable of running the notebook. It's not, notebook is capable of running in Visual Code. But right now, I have my PyCharm environment, my development environment, loading notebooks and executing these things. And I just wanted to test whether I can create a Claude skill to do the same thing. See, telling Claude to do this without really looking at code and having code generated for me is a different approach. And it might not, I could tell this to create a notebook to run this way after we finish all the steps. I'm going to do that. But right now, it's this skill that I created, which is doing what I wanted to do. So let's look at this skill, and let me go into Amazon and see where we are here. Let me see, console. Where am I? I am in production, so this is my production account. Let me sign in. And let me look at my resources. So where do I have Cognito? Do I have Cognito anywhere here? Let me go search. Okay, I'm in the West region, and so it did create the user pool, and here's my I should create a user, but I basically created the user pool. So what I'm gonna do, let's first go over the skill, and I'll tell you what I want to do, and then I'm going to update the skill to do other things. Okay, so this skill creates an AWS Cognito instance for Home Task AI project using a given pool name. That is the skill. So I told the skill I wanted to use the AWS profile. I even told Claude to change, set the profile, set the region, and Claude did that. So that's why here I have the profile and the region. So let me see if this skill actually does that. Okay, so I'm going to say the required variables to create the pool are these, but I actually created a pool with the pool name and the profile and the region, and I get back these three, and I populated an environment. So the skill is not really complete yet, but what it did is create the Cognito Userpool. Okay, so here's the first step. Create the Cognito Userpool. Run this. Now Claude created this. Ask the user for the pool name if it's not an environmental file. Then update it before running this. Okay, so the environment set, the pool name is set, and then it runs this. The script creates the user pool, the resource server, and the app client with client credentials, and writes the Cognito client ID, the Cognito client secret, and the token URL back to the environment automatically. Now I should probably have some make this a little bit more fine-tuned if it's, because if the create Cognito is not there, you have to create the file, although it did anyway. And if you want to query for the pool name, it should ask you for it. So right now it's in the environment, so it's not going to query me for it, and I think it will. And then fetch the access token to test, display the token type, expiration, and mask access token. So this happened as well. Now inspect the token with the inspect flags, and so it runs this, fetches the refresh token, it decodes it, and finds the claims, the sub, the scope, the expiration, the ISS, and the client ID. So basically, Cognito, when you authenticate into it, you get a JWT token which has these attributes. What are you trying to access? What's the scope? What is the client ID that's allowed to use this JWT token, etc. So we get the chance to look at those things. Now we validate the credentials, confirm that the client ID, the client secret, and the Cognito URL are all set in the environment and not placeholders. If any are missing, just suggest running option 1. Okay. So this file was written for me. I've been tweaking it a little bit, but but for the most part, I've been just telling Claude to change the skill to my needs. So really, Claude has been updating this file for the most part. And I told it that all the Python scripts live in src. I told it that I wanted to generate Python scripts and store them in src because Claude was using command lines tools, and I didn't want to do that because what am I eventually going to do is build a couple of skills and a finalized skill which says create a notebook to generate all this. Now, Claude did download and install .env so we could have the env, and it did create the env file. It created the commands directory for the skill. What else? Well, now I got to figure out how to use this, right? So let me try doing something here. Oh, here it is right here. Now, with client credential, I don't need a user, so let's just skip that for the moment. It's a client credential is as a client who wants to talk to it. It's going to be a Python code which uses strands agents, which is going to talk to this thing to authenticate. But let me just see what else is going on here. So what I wanted to do is bring up my history. So anyway, let's go back to the user pool here and check a couple of things. The app clients. This is my home task client. Has my client ID. Um, 7K. Let's go back and look at the code. Client ID ends in 7K. So, and I'm not using this yet because I didn't really generate my client yet. But let's figure out when to do that. Okay, now what the skill did say was it created a Userpool, fetch the access token, fetch token. Okay, let's do this. Let's just see what happens here. Please fetch my access token. I'm just going to yes this is death and see what happens. It looks like it's getting a token. My token expires in 1 hour. Okay, let's see. Inspect the token. Let's type this. Inspect the token. Allow this bash. Okay. This bash command. Notice I don't have the code. I don't mind coding. It's just that some of these commands on the command line are just, they're just really slow you down. Okay, so notice here, I got client ID, the token access. Obviously, it's being used for this Bedrock endpoint. I'm going to leave that alone for now because the truth is, I do want to go through Bedrock Gateway, and I do want to access an agent deployed in the gateway. It's just that I haven't really deployed it yet. I got this create gateway. I'm not going to worry about that. Cognito Userpool, the identity of the Cognito Userpool. This is the date. Expires in 1 hour. And it's using the West region. So that's good news. Okay, now let me just, it's telling me all the, I'm getting all the attributes of the user pool, you know, but the user pool is in Amazon, and here let's ask a couple more questions just to see. Okay, now I'm going to just ask this question: where is my client code? Now, if you notice, it's saying something about this agent file. I'm going to ignore that for now, but it's telling me my client code is here. Okay, so let me look at my client code. I think I told it I was going to use a gateway that used MCP, and I generated this. Now, it doesn't mean that this is definitely the answer to all my questions. I mean, the bottom line is I'm going to have to update this in a bit because I want to make sure that the client can talk to the gateway. I'm going to create the gateway and make sure the gateway gets created, and then I'm going to make sure the client talks to the gateway. This is code to speak to a client and my goal is to talk to the gateway and list the tools that are available. So I don't believe I have the agent deployed in the gateway. I do think that this code is proper to some extent, but I'm a little bit ahead of myself with this. So I think this is something that I generated and copied here because I know I'm going to need something here. Now, probably I'm going to say fix this client to use strands agents or something else like that. But anyway, I'm going through the steps of creating skills and then creating a workflow to execute those skills, just like you can do in a notebook. Execute them one at a time and build an agent core gateway with an agent deployed and with Cognito securing the access. But anyway, so I think I'm not gonna bother you with this or with this. We're still back at this skill. Now, let me see if I could just run the skill. I might have to remove. Okay, I'm trying to remember. You can create this app client. Let me remove all of this. Now the I'm forgetting how this happened, but the client ID I need. So let's go back to the tools, and let me remove this. Let me see, because the bottom one is the skill. I'm trying to create the skill, but oh, there's a domain here. Okay, so now in the West Coast, I don't really have anything for Cognito. So what I'm going to do is go back to my code and say this, because I think when I run the skill, it might have asked me a question. Whether I wanted a domain. Now, let me change this skill a little bit. Always begin by reading this before performing Cognito operations. I'm going to create another thing here. Call it, this is the backtick. Cognito domain. Okay, I think it should be in the this environment file. So what we're showing you here is still working on the skill, right? So Cognito, I'm going to call this domain. You know what? Let me just say this. Let me just say this. Let me see if it asks me to populate that. Okay, so let's first do this. I'm just going to say populate. Okay, so we're going to do this. Now, let me go back to Claude. And I'm going to say create Cognito and see what happens. Now we didn't remove my Python code. And so it's starting to read the environment, it's thinking through, it's crafting. My Cognito domain is empty. Okay, now it's asking me a question. And I'm going to submit an answer. You know, I could have done it. Well, it thinks I could do these, but I really can't because I didn't create the pool yet. I just deleted the pool. So let's see if this works. List the source folder. It's finding out that the Python code is already there. Allow this bash command. Profiles prod. Sure, why not? Okay, it created a pool with the user ID, the user pool, the domain. It actually defined the domain, and the environment has been updated. Well, it didn't update the domain. Let's go back to the environment. It didn't update the domain, but let me see something. But it knows about the domain. Okay, so I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to say update my skill, update my create Cognito skill to write the domain into the environment. Allow this bash command. I'm just yesing this to death, but I'm surprised. I think Claude might be a little bit more confused than I am. Don't know what it's doing right now. I'm ready to stop this because it's looking for the file and it should know where it is. You know, I'm going to ask it, what directory am I in? Because I get the feeling Claude is in the yeah, it's in the right directory. So what I'm going to do is just run it again. Let me just add this client secret. Cognito. Okay, let me try this. Let me just try it again and see what kind of problems I get. Because part of this skill should be, it should say that if it already exists there, just complete the config, but I'm not doing that, and it might get an error just. Okay, so what's doing now is it's updating this, it's updating the code. To write back to the environment file. So this is done. So first of all, we've got the domain. Let's just see. Oh, wait a minute. Let's just see what happened here. I'm in the West region. There's no user pool created. There's no client. Okay, so let's I told it to update my skill, but let's tell it to create it. Create Cognito. I'm gonna say 1. And it's gonna run this create Cognito file. Now, one thing I noticed, which I'm not too crazy about the way this is working right now, is I populated some things. And in the environment file, okay, let's I don't know why it's asking me that the user pool was created and the resource server is set up, but the domain name is already claimed by another pool. Yes, so let's delete it. Now this is saying user pool. It's creating it's deleting the domain name. Okay, so it's very clear that I need a delete task. So this one does a create, and we need another one that does a delete. And this corresponds to what I did with Agent Core, where you can create a Cognito user pool for Agent Core Gateway and stuff like that, but you do have to delete it if you're deleting resources. So you can't recreate it if it already exists. So let's go back over here and take a look. User pools, identity pools. Okay, so let's try to do it again. Pool deleted. Okay, let's do this again. Create Cognito Userpool. Now, why this says the current one is taken? Why is this one taken? Let's go back over here. Where's the domain name? So let me ask Claude that. If there's existing pool, that's a little bit disturbing because I don't believe that this there's a user pool in this account. Why is this showing up now? So this did work. I'm a little bit confused here because we definitely want to delete it. Let me just delete this. Sometimes delete the Cognito domain that you assigned. Okay, now I'm going to use the skill again. I'm going to say do number 1. It's telling me to delete the old pool and rerun. So I'm a little bit confused right now. I think the session state thinks it's Claude session thinks it's created already, but I have already deleted it. So now I'm starting to realize that I think Claude's using a session. So what I want to do, let me just do number 1 and see what happens. It won't be able to delete it because it's not there. Delete. Yeah, I think that's what's happening. See, if I cleared the Claude session, it wouldn't think that I already created the user pool. So it's probably thinking I created this user pool already. It probably was smart enough to look in its cache and not look at Amazon to see if it exists. But that's a flaw. I consider it. An error occurred. There's no pool there. The pool no longer exists. Allow the bash command Cognito describe user pool domain. Domain is clear. Run the Cognito. Yes, we want to create a Cognito user pool. So it looks like I don't have to go to Amazon to delete the pool. It looks like Claude will automatically detect that it wants to delete the pool for me. So I think we'll test that. Secret is written, token, client, OC. Client is OC. Now let's go over there and take a look. Client OC. So this looks like it worked. I think what'll happen now, if I go to create it again, it would tell me that it wants to delete it and create it again. Now I'm a little bit concerned about the state of this thing. Where are we? The environment has just want to see something. The environment gateway URL looks gray now. Claude. I shouldn't be touching any of this gateway stuff right now. I'm just looking at this domain. Domain is correct. Why is this home task Userpool gray? Okay, because that was read, not written. And this was written, and this was written. Client secret. P9. P9. Okay, I think what we want to do is kind of close the loop on this. So as you can see, the skill has been defined. Now, if I went and created, let me just do this once more. Inspect token. You see what happens. First, it has to get the token, then it has to inspect it. So we're just checking that it's working still. Okay, and it says token is invalid. The claims is invalid. So why is it telling me? No, the token is valid. Okay. Token is valid. Okay, that's good. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll try to refine this and see if there's anything wrong going forward. Now remember, I created Cognito, I got a token. It's a valid token, a JWT token. Now what I want to do is I'm going to create a gateway, an agent core gateway. What I'm going to do is require that the Cognito authenticates this gateway access. So we'll check that next once we create a skill to create the gateway. Now, like I said, I'm still having problems with what I have here. because if I create Cognito again, it might ask me, do you want to delete it first? Yeah, delete the one that exists, because looking at the variables, and the variables are there already in the environment file. So it says, it says, yeah. So it's saying that the pool is already there. You want me to create a new one? It was trying to create a home task Userpool too. Now, what is wrong with this? Okay, so what we want to do is say, okay, when I delete the pool, I want to delete these variables that are defined, because I want to rewrite them again. Because what is my skills? Does my skills say you create the Cognito Userpool and write the variables? So let's try this one more time, okay? What I want to do is create a Userpool. It's going to ask me, do you want to delete the one? I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to see if the one is created. Now, with that said, now notice we have the Userpool, and we have the app client. I want to see both of those go away. This client ID should change, and the Userpool ID should change. Okay, we'll cover this in the next video, but I have to test this to create, make sure that this is all working consistently. Let's move on.